Hello, all. Hashim from Throw Punch here, and there's no secret that Mortal Kombat and Soul Calibur are some of my favorite gaming franchises or series, whatever, of all time. And given the fact that I have access to all of those games, mostly all of the games in those franchises, I still suffer from the problem of being lazy, which means I don't feel like setting up my gaming PC and or console to actually play them. And plus there's a little bit of depression in there, so I don't really want to do things most of the time anyway, so yeah. Then I had a revelation, a thought that changed my mind, a thought that opened new windows to different opportunities. Phones. Phones can have games. I reviewed one phone game already. Maybe I can find another. And it's safe to say I definitely found another. The game in question today is Final Fighters, which is available on Android and Apple devices. A King of Fighters inspired mobile fighting game made purely for mobile devices and made probably tablets. I don't have a tablet, so I don't know. Which, this obviously sets it apart from King of Fighters aside from, its console ports, because King of Fighters is not strictly limited to mobile devices. This game is one that's extremely interesting, and it could possibly be your next favorite mobile game if you can get around something that I'll mention later in this video. But without further ado, let's begin the overview and semi-review of Final Fighters. Starting with the gameplay, surprisingly enough, the game is equipped with mechanics similar to any fighting games on PC and or consoles. Some characters have parry-based combo starters, others have zoning capabilities or keep away moves or tactics, whatever you want to call that. There are those who cancel moves to extend combos and others who deal less damage in favor of more defensive movesets that would have things like parries and or defensive countermeasures against projectiles for those owner characters. Granted, since the game is ruled by touch controls, there is a little jank with these mechanics mentioned, but nonetheless they work when they have to work. Most of the game's story mode plays like a more polished version of Sub-Zero Mythologies, interestingly enough, with enemies spawning similar to that of Streets of Rage. And since this is what the story mode mainly consists of, it's pretty easy to forget that you're playing a fighting game as opposed to a beat 'em up, which is a genre that the game definitely caters to most of the time. Outside of that, the game's core gameplay runs almost exactly like King of Fighters with a mobile touch. There's another beat 'em up mode known as Team Mode, which connects you and another player into a series of side-scrolling combat challenges, basically another beat 'em up gameplay mode. These modes are fun, but the base fighting game combat that comes out of the arcade mode, online PvP, and challenge modes are much more exciting to me personally. Probably because I'm super impressed about how a mobile game can do what this game does. And a lot of this is complemented by how many characters are in the game. Some are more complex, some are more simple. And in order to take full advantage of all of the cool features mentioned, you'll have to see what character you like. Here's the thing. The game has 39 unique characters, each with their own skins and weapon skins. So that's the thing if you want to customize. This game is extremely grindy when it comes to characters. You start with 2, maybe 3, and you have to earn the rest of them, which is why I say find a character you like as opposed to characters, because if you aren't going to stick and commit to this game, then you probably won't get the opportunity to like many characters. Which from a free-to-play mobile game, the grind is definitely expected, nothing surprising here. And because this is a free-to-play mobile game, unlocking every character via gacha machines would cost just as much as a full-price console fighting game. These characters can be farmed, but it's safe to say there's a load of time to be required before you unlock everyone in a roster, which I'm not even close to. I think I have 2 or 3 characters at most. And all of them are story unlocks. Or both of them, because in order to have all you need more than 2, I guess. There are modes in the game that allows you to use locked characters, and it's always extremely fun to see how they play. Again, every character in this game is pretty interesting as far as gameplay goes. Finally, we have the game's story, which for better or worse is extremely simplistic, but what are we comparing it to? King of Fighters, Street Fighter. I doubt we'll have any literary masterpieces to hold it next to. The game's main character, Kui or Quay, honestly not sure, is a young and naive martial artist caught in between the world's 2 superpowered factions, each of them fighting to gain her loyalty. And because of this, Kui gains even more carelessness under the impression that she's this unobtainable badass that she calls herself all the time. Having Kui as a main character is pretty fun since she can shapeshift into some inanimate objects, which allows for great side-scrolling gameplay when you're a fucking tank. And I don't mean like tank where you're you're a beefy person, I mean tank as in like a literal machine. Kui can literally metamorph. And this is fun because story mode missions typically have weird objectives, like some where you have to protect a certain tower or just survive. So being an actual machine while doing that is for some reason really fun. I'm not sure why. Some parts of the game just feels like a freaking twin stick shooter. It's strange. Kui, her shapeshifting ability allows for some very strange things. Aside from that, the game actually has some cutscenes which are a plus. The graphics are a bit PS2, but nonetheless, I like the cutscenes. The cutscenes are actually where I have my first gameplay issue. They are not voice acted. So you see characters' mouths moving, you see dialogue, you hear sounds, but you don't hear any voices, and it feels very strange. Not every game has to be voice acted, but you definitely notice its absence when you have a full-on cinematic cutscene without any voices present. So that's it for Final Fighters. Interested in joining the game? So that's it for Final Fighters. Interested in joining the game's ranks and developing your own opinion on it? Click the link in my bio and get started today. Like and subscribe if you like me, which I'm sure you do, and have a great day.